Hey there, I'm Eli Straw. I'm a performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Something that I talk to a lot of athletes about is using visualization to help us build confidence. And I was on a coaching call with a client yesterday, and we were talking about using visualization to help him with feeling more confident dribbling up the court because he's a basketball player. And what was really interesting was we began to talk about what negative visualization does to us in terms of our confidence, especially when we're dealing with a lot of fear and anxiety. So we know that visualization will help us with confidence because the more we imagine ourselves performing well, so in this basketball player's case, the more he imagines himself dribbling up the court, the more confident he'll become. And because he's building that confidence in himself, he's telling his brain, hey, I know that I can do this well. So it's then more likely that during a game, he'll put himself in a position to dribble up the court more, and he'll have more success with it. So we are building that strong level of confidence, which will help us when we want to actually perform whatever it is we're trying to build confidence in during the game. But the same thing holds true, or the same kind of process holds true when we see negative visualization hurt our confidence. So I asked this young basketball player, I said, in the past, how many times have you thought about dribbling up the court and turning the ball over? And he told me, I've thought about that tons of different times because that's something that he's really afraid of. It's the main reason that right now he doesn't dribble up the court a lot because he's afraid of turning the ball over. Because he's afraid of turning that ball over, he thinks about it. The more he thinks about turning the ball over, the more he is imagining himself making that mistake. So then what ends up happening is that as he is imagining himself turning the ball over and he's picturing himself turning the ball over, he's visualizing himself turning the ball over. So then he's just ingraining this idea in his mind that he cannot dribble up the court well because he's turning the ball over. He's performing, without really knowing it, a form of negative visualization where he is imagining himself performing something poorly, which then lowers confidence and increases fear. So then I asked him, I said, well, if you're visualizing yourself and imagining yourself performing poorly day after day after day, what will then happen when you get into the game? And he said, well, I'm going to avoid a situation where I might make that mistake because I know that I can't do that well. And that's exactly what he's seeing happen because he's not going up for defensive rebounds simply because he doesn't want to then get caught having to dribble up the court. The whole reason we began talking about dribbling up the court was because we were going over how to be more aggressive with getting rebounds. And he then told me that, well, I'm not getting rebounds on the defensive side because I don't want to have to then dribble the ball up the court because I don't trust myself. So his mind's natural reaction is to avoid a situation where he will have to dribble up the court because he knows, or he's been training himself to believe that he's not good at that. So we are then using visualization to help him build confidence in himself so that he can go after those rebounds to dribble up the court. But the point in making this video here is I want you to really think about, within your own game, how much time are you spending thinking right now about things you're afraid of? Whether it's turning the ball over, striking out, making an error, missing that serve, losing the game. How many times are you imagining yourself performing things poorly? You might be thinking about how much you don't want to do those things, right? How much you don't want to throw the interception, for example. But the more you imagine it, the more you are visualizing it. And when we think about things over and over and over again, what that builds is a belief. So if you struggle right now with confidence in any area of your game, you want to take inventory and ask yourself, am I spending a lot of time thinking about doing this thing poorly? Am I thinking about it going badly? Every single time you think about it going badly, you think about performing it poorly, what you're doing right there is you are building a negative association where you're thinking, okay, I can't do this well. I keep imagining myself performing it poorly. So then in a game, if you have to do that thing, right? So if you are the quarterback and you have to throw the pass, that's where you end up throwing it with more hesitation and you make mistakes simply because of that lack of confidence. Or with this basketball player's example, you find yourself avoiding situations during games in which you would have to perform the skill that you are struggling with and you're doubting yourself with. And because you're going to avoid that, because your mind sees that you're not very good at that. Right? Another example that I gave the basketball player yesterday was I said, if I'm missing, or if I take 20 shots a day, 20 shots a day from the same point on the court, and I miss every single shot I take, and that goes on for a week or two, what do you think is going to happen during a game? Well, I know for pretty certain I'm not going to be taking that shot during a game because I've seen myself miss it over and over and over and over and over again. Now, if that's happening in my mind, the same thing will occur, right? I'm not going to take that shot during the game because I've been thinking about how bad I am at taking that shot, and I keep replaying that over and over again in my mind. So what can you do then? If right now you know that there are certain parts of your game where this occurs and you think about not wanting to make mistakes and you think about how you are afraid of making those mistakes, but by thinking about them, you're picturing them, you're replaying them in your mind, what can you do? Well, just like I told that basketball player, what you want to start doing is you want to do the opposite of this, which is a more positive visualization, where you spend some time each day visualizing yourself performing those skills that you currently struggle with and where you are feeling a lot of fear within your game. But what you can also do more in the moment is anytime you notice yourself or catch yourself imagining or thinking about doing something wrong within your sport, making a mistake, for example, you want to notice that, and then you want to immediately think about yourself doing it well. I told the basketball player if he has some time, close his eyes for a second and visualize himself dribbling up the court well. If you don't have time to close your eyes, just simply think about it. But what we need to make sure we're doing right now is we need to make sure that we are changing this association. You are spending more time thinking about what you can do well, and you're spending more time imagining yourself performing well instead of thinking about what you don't want to have happen, which typically leads to then imagining it in the negative way, right? Imagining yourself making those mistakes. You visualize yourself performing well, that builds confidence. You visualize yourself and imagine yourself making mistakes, that leads to avoidant play, and it also leads to lower levels of confidence. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. And if you're interested in one-on-one coaching or any of the sports psychology programs I have available, I've put links to those in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.